everyone, I'm Tiara King and I'm here to tell you 4 things you do not make the mistake of when you are formatting your interiors for your books. Now, for all the newbies out there who want to self-publish, these are 4 mistakes that all newbies make. I made them myself many a year ago when I first started doing my interiors. I highly recommend doing your interiors as it will save you so much money in the long run, because you aren't waiting for the person who did the interior formatting to find the time to fix any mistakes that you may have found. You can just quickly do them yourself and re-upload. So I'm using a book that has been recently self-published. It was traditionally published many a year ago. They've probably got the rights to do it. I don't know. I don't know what software they have used to do this. I use Word. I started in Word 2010, moved to Office Professional 2021. That was the last one payment before the sub kicked in. I won't show you the cover or tell you who it is, but these are the 4 mistakes you don't want to make inside your book if you are doing the formatting. First one is headers and footers on blank pages. So this is the back of the book, so this is the last page. So when you start your chapter on your right and the end of the chapter is a blank page, you make sure you remove all headers and footers, page numbers, titles, author name. You do not leave blank pages with headers and footers. There are 8 of them in this book that this person made the mistake of. So that's number 1. 2, 3, and 4 all come at the same time. Now, this person has indented the first line after a seam break. You don't do that. When you come out of a seam break, regardless of what you use, a line, asterisk, whatever, you never indent the first line, whether it's one line on its own or the first line of a paragraph. You never indent. There are over 48 paragraphs coming out of seam breaks that are not justified. So that is the second mistake you don't make. You always make sure that it is fully justified against the edge. You never indent the first line. Now, the third thing is the gaps at the bottom. Nothing's equal. You need to make sure that all of your text is equal along the bottom, because if you have gaps like this, it means you've made a few mistakes. Now, in Word, and I've written this down, you right-click to get the box, you hit paragraph, and in the paragraph box, you hit line and page breaks. You untick your widow and orphan box, and that will automatically adjust all of the lines. But you do tick don't hyphenate. So all of the boxes you untick except for don't hyphenate. You do not want widows and orphans. That's part of the reason why this is happening. Why? And this is throughout the whole book. Now, it could also be because of the spacing they've used between paragraphs. And the spacing isn't normal. It's a bit too much compared to normal. But that's why you don't get even bottoms. There are a couple of other reasons, and I'll show that in a minute because I've just realised. That will also fix all of your hyphenation. There are so many hyphenated words at the end of the lines on every page. It is ridiculous. You do not need to hyphenate words unless they are so long they need to be. For me, hyphenating words that aren't already hyphenated is a last resort, especially in a large print. It's long words like Stephanopoulos from my Porn Star Brothers series, or acknowledgement. Really long words, if you cannot fit them on a line, you may just have to hyphenate as a last resort. This is not a last resort. This book is so full of hyphenated words. It's ridiculous. That's the 4th thing you don't do. You make sure all of your words are unhyphenated. And that's why you tick the don't hyphenate box if you use Word. And you make sure that widows and orphans is turned off, because that will automatically adjust. Now, there are only a couple of times when you do have uneven bottoms. And I'll use my book as an example. Non-fiction, when you have sections, I chose to move it up. Now, the text body is 12-point font. I think these were 16 or 18, and they were even bigger. So that would not have fitted down here with the proper spacing that I've allowed, and then I would have had no text on the bottom. So I would have just had that header there, down there. So it would have looked ridiculous. So I made the choice to then move it up. So in non-fiction books, you will see uneven bottoms. That's because there is multiple spacing of the fonts, as well as multiple sizes of the fonts. So you do need to make a stylistic choice. I made the stylistic choice to do it like this because it just would not have fitted down there. So all of this would not have been able to get in there. Would have looked ridiculous. So there are only a couple of reasons why you have uneven bottoms. In non-fiction is because you've got different headers and different size font. In fiction, I'd say the only time would be if you've got, say, an announcement, you're making an announcement in the book, say someone's reading the newspaper and there's an announcement, you might use larger font. It won't fit on the page before. It could be you've inserted an image. Some people will have text messages from, especially in young adult, will have text messages. They will create an image for that instead. So you need to have that page break so that you can get the image on the next page. And that will result in an uneven bottom. So there are really very few reasons why you have uneven bottoms in fiction and non-fiction. Now, just to cover, inside you don't number or title empty blank pages. So get rid of your headers and footers. You make sure that the widows and orphan box is unticked and the do not hyphenate is ticked. That will adjust the uneven lines on each page so that both pages are even. It will get rid of your hyphenation down the side and never ever indent the first line after a page break. Now cover wise, I will not be showing the cover. Do not put by in front of your name. It's amateur and it really looks it. This person put by in front of their name. You don't need to. Your name is enough. I never put by in front of mine. Why? You know, your name's enough. This person put by. Don't do that. This is also considered an international edition. Now, traditionally published, it was only Australia, New Zealand. This person wanted America and Europe the chance to be able to buy it. So they put that on the cover. Don't put international edition on the cover or on the spine. It also looks a bit cheap and tacky and amateurish. And on top of that, most people won't know anyway. The inside is pretty much the same, text-wise, as what was used in the original book. It's just that the spacing is different. The copyright page is a little different. It's got their copyright because they self-published. They did do a different subtitle though. I don't know why. Maybe it was because they had to. And the image they used was the original picture of their face, but on this one they've cut it in half and put an image of a flower. Now there is talk of flowers throughout this book and the person kind of weaves that into the story, but putting it on the cover of a memoir just looks ridiculous in my book. And it doesn't really show what it's about. The assumption is it's a memoir because it says a memoir. Now this person's also put the name on one side and a memoir on the other side of the image. It looks like it's made in Canva because it is. I know they make their stuff in Canva for their social media. So this is definitely made in Canva. Unfortunate, doesn't look as good as the original. It looks self-published because of all those mistakes. So for the cover, do not put by. A lot of people put a novel. You don't need to do that either. That also looks amateurish. You don't put by in front of your name and you don't put international edition on the cover. Most people don't do international editions. That requires you doing the American spelling for the American version, the British spelling for the British version. It's a whole fuck ton of shit hassle you don't want. So yeah, that's 4 things for the interior to make sure, and a couple of things for the cover to make sure. So if you're going to self-publish and you're going to format the book yourself, which I highly recommend because it will save you so much money, it will take a lot of time to learn depending on the software, unless you already know how to use the software. So it will take time to perfect the original template that you can then use for the rest of the series or for other books. But I highly recommend doing it because when you find a mistake, you can fix it and re-upload. Just don't make those mistakes for the cover or the interior, and it will look so much more professional. And you want your book to look professional. You don't want to look like an amateur, because if people see that it looks like self-published, we still have that stigma, then people won't buy it. So it needs to look professional. I had mine properly done by a designer based on the original image, and I just changed up the subtitle. But it needs to look professional if you self-publish. And the interior needs to look professional, because you don't want to look like an amateur. That is the worst thing you can do. Always look and behave in a professional manner.